In the military, there's a concept of flipping the game. It happens pretty often, but playing off the chessboard is a rare phenomenon. The Ukrainian operation in Kursk seems to be just that, an off-the-board game. But why Kursk? What Putin's terrifying secret has been revealed by this Ukrainian attack, and what changes has the Kursk operation already brought to the war? Let's get to the bottom of it. The choice to attack the Kursk region has led to a lot of criticism, saying that Ukraine is dispersing its already limited forces and that there are many places on the front line that critically need more Ukrainian soldiers. Fair enough, but Ukraine is already gaining a lot from this unexpected operation. The attack has revealed Putin's terrible secret. The Russian army is unable to ensure the inviolability of its territory and safety of its citizens, being much more vulnerable than it had previously seemed. According to Donald Jensen, U.S. Institute of Peace, the Ukrainians have skillfully chosen and exploited a weakness in the Russian deployment. Based on this vision, the Ukrainian army struck the flank of the Russian forces, creating a numerical advantage. What? A numerical advantage? How is this possible? The head of the Bundeswehr's Situation Center in Ukraine, Major General Christian Freuding, estimated that Ukraine had used 4 brigades of 4,000 to 6,000 soldiers in the offensive, supported by 2,000 to 4,000 soldiers providing logistics and air defense. In total, this is up to 10,000 combatants. This is a very limited contingent, and this is probably all that the Ukrainian command had at its disposal. However, according to Ukrainian officers who took part in the operation, approximately the same number of troops were on the Russian side. And this is shocking. Ukraine's border with the Kursk region is 152 miles long. If this border were a front line, the Russians would have to keep a 120,000 strong force grouping there, approximately 800 soldiers for every mile. But no, 10,000 Russians were stretched over a 152-mile segment, and the Ukrainians chose to attack a limited area up to 50 miles wide. Thus, with limited resources, the Ukrainians still created a numerical advantage and broke the defense. But don't get us wrong, it wasn't a cakewalk as some media outlets report. Because since the summer of 2022, the Russians have spent more than $250 million to fortify these positions, $1.6 million for every mile. OSINT analyst Bradley Afric, who used satellite imagery to map Russian fortifications, noted 2 lines of defense in Kursk Oblast. Based on the map, this is what it looks like. This multi-component defense line consists of a large anti-tank ditch that cannot be crossed by armored vehicles. Then, there is a line of anti-tank bulwarks called Dragon's Teeth in 3 to 5 rows. Between them are minefields. Only after that is the line of entrenchments, trenches, pillboxes, and fortified checkpoints with underground communications. By the way, some positions have underground barracks, a canteen, and a gym. Something like the Surovikin line in southern Ukraine, which Ukrainian forces failed to break through in the summer of 2023. But the training wasn't wasted, because many of those soldiers are now taking part in the Kursk operation. In a few days, they were able to take control of more territory than the Russians had captured in 6 months. How? First, Ukrainian forces carried out mine clearance, breaking through the border and destroying Russian defenses. For this purpose, they used artillery and Ukrainian aviation. Russian air superiority somehow disappeared. Ukrainian planes dropped hundreds of guided bombs on Russian positions, and helicopters circled over Russian positions as if they were at home. It was the first time in 80 years that foreign aircraft had bombed Russian territory. Keeping the initiative, the Russian command felt absolutely comfortable. The Russian army continued its pressure in the Donbas region and in the Kharkiv direction. After all, according to warfare science, having the initiative allows you to determine the place, time, and intensity of combat operations. The Kursk Bulge was not part of their plans in the near future. But on August 6th, the situation changed dramatically. Geolocation data from footage released on August 6th and 7th shows that Ukrainian armored vehicles moved into position along the 38K030 highway, approximately 6 to 7 miles from the international border. Ukrainian forces advanced both northwest and southeast. 2 Russian helicopters, a Mi-28 and a Ka-52, were shot down. The Mi-28 was shot down by an FPV drone. This is the first time in the history of warfare that a helicopter has been shot down in this way. By August 8th, advanced patrols of Ukrainian forces were already present in areas 22 miles from the international border. A week later, a Ukrainian military commandant's office appeared on the occupied territory. It became clear that the operation was successful and it was not just a raid. Although it is still too early to summarize the Kursk operation's results, some are already available. First, the Ukrainians have shown that they are able to conduct maneuver warfare, which the Russians are not. Secondly, the Russian command now has to move reinforcements to defend Kursk and build a new line of defense there. This means we can expect the Russian army's pressure along the main front line, especially in the Kharkiv direction, to ease. It is already known that the 75,000-strong force grouping of Russian troops in the Kharkiv sector has been reduced by 11 battalions, which were redeployed to defend Kursk. In addition, the number of rocket artillery attacks on the Sumy region of Ukraine has already significantly decreased. However, the depth of a breakthrough always has time and distance limits. It depends on the number of troops and equipment involved because the advanced units will be surrounded if the flanks and rear are not protected. The further the Ukrainians go into the depths of Russia, the more difficult their logistics and supplies will be. But even the current depth of advance is already a success. The main thing is that Ukraine has seized the initiative and can now choose the following steps. Either continue to build up troops and push towards Kursk, or hold the positions and try to attack another part of the border. But it is already clear that the Russians will have to build up troops along the entire border, where there is no active fighting. Russia's Kursk, Bryansk, and Belgorod regions share a 720-mile border with Ukraine. To fill it with troops, Putin will have to declare mobilization again, which is a highly undesirable scenario for him. However, an even worse scenario is to leave Russian territory under the control of the Ukrainian army. After all, the Russian authorities have not known such a disgrace in the last 80 years. This brings the political component of this maneuver to the forefront. The longer the Kursk operation lasts, the greater the political consequences for Russia will be. But will the Ukrainian army be able to hold the occupied bridgehead? Justin Crump, a former British Army officer who now heads the risk consulting company Sibylline, says that the Ukrainian forces on the other side of the border will eventually become more vulnerable to Russian attacks. He says that Russia's chances of attacking Ukraine's supply lines and effectively using its air force will increase. In other words, the quiet border will turn into a hot war, which is currently going on in Donbas. But in this scenario, the liberation of a few hundred square miles of Russian territory that remain under the control of the Ukrainian army could take several months. During this time, Ukrainian raiding groups deep in the Russian rear could destroy important energy or logistics facilities. These are very sensitive losses. The Ukrainians are already destroying bridges to protect their flanks and can use captured fortifications left by the Russians. It will not be easy to drive them out of there. The border of the Kursk region is divided by small water obstacles into small sections that could become death sectors for the attackers. This could be a catastrophe for the Russian army, as it was in Bakhmut or Avdiivka, where the Russians lost tens of thousands of soldiers. So, the Ukrainian offensive in the Kursk region of Russia is a bold operation, especially when viewed in the broader context of military history. It is an operation with high risks and a potentially high outcome that could change the course of the game. Military history offers an interesting case of such bold risk-taking. In the fall of 1776, George Washington's Continental Army, fighting for independence from Great Britain, suffered a crushing defeat at the Battle of Long Island. But Washington sent his army south to New Jersey, where it attacked two British outposts in Princeton and Trenton. It was an unexpected maneuver. By crossing the frozen Delaware River, Washington surprised the British and ultimately defeated both outposts. The result was not just a tactical defeat for the British. By taking Princeton and Trenton, the Continental Army essentially cut off the British outposts west of its main base in New York. In the same way, the Ukrainian army can cut off a 75,000-strong grouping of Russian troops in the Kharkiv sector if it manages to cut the Kursk-Belgorod highway. So, as General George Patton told his commanders, audacity, audacity, always audacity. Give us a thumbs up if you agree with him, or better yet, share with us in the comments which topic you would like to see in the next video.